Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final week of the high school football regular season, and you are once again listening to the Temple Daily Telegram Sports Podcast, or maybe the first time you're listening for the first time.
It's your first
Either
time.
way,
How you been, man?
welcome.
We're not doing it for the first time.
No. I personally am not looking forward to discussing any of what we're about to discuss tonight on this podcast, but we have to do it because it's there. Anyway, this is Josh Weaver here with Greg Willie.
Hello.
Daniel Zepeda's over there.
Hello.
Marcus Hood is over there.
Howdy. I am looking forward to discussing a lot of what we're going to talk about.
Awesome. Well, that probably makes three of us. It's probably 3 against 1, or maybe 2 against 2. I don't know.
We actually get to bring
We'll see
some
how it
philosophy into tonight's
Yeah.
discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If we so choose.
You're going to hear the door slam in the middle of this. That's me leaving.
Weaver's a little salty tonight. You're going to have to forgive him.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
It just gives us all headaches this time of year.
Yep. Yeah. And with the elections and stuff going on, everyone's just been on edge
Sure,
lately.
let's blame the elections.
Right. Everyone else is blaming the elections.
Let's bring everything into this.
Yes. All right. Yes. Week 11. Here we go. What we're going to talk about playoff scenarios, and a lot of them. Some teams clinched last week. Some teams were eliminated from contention last week. We'll try to bring some of those up as well. But on tap, Friday in District 12-6A, Temple at Copperas Cove. Ooh, boy, oh boy. Belton at Hewitt Midway. Oh, man. Whew, watch out. Shoemaker at Harker Heights.
Someone's going to win.
Well, and Colleen at Waco. Okay. In 5-4A1, Waco La Vega at Gatesville. Okay, Gatesville.
I'm glad you're not like a
Gatesville
promoter.
has some things to do with that, right?
If you were a promoter, you'd have a hard time selling tickets.
No way. People are going to be like, what's this guy talking about? Let's go. Let's find out.
I want to go already.
In 8-4A2, Salado at Fairfield. Salado. Eagles. Got to get some work done. 10-3A1, Rockdale at Academy. That's for placing in 10-3A1. Lago Vista at Cameron Yo. Yo can wrap up the outright district title with a victory. Manor New Tech at Gerald. Those guys are playing to finish out the season strong. In 8-3A2, Rogers at Clifton. Clifton's unbeaten. Rogers is already in the playoffs. 8-2A1, Moody at Itasca. That's a matchup of another two teams who are just trying to finish this one out with a finish strong.
It's Bearcats versus Wampus Cats.
Great. I have cats underneath the deck in my backyard that I don't want there.
Wampa.
But are they Wampus Cats?
No, just unwanted cats. 13-2A1, Holland at Milano. Holland can clinch its outright district title, right? Yeah, they got a share of it, and they can clinch the whole thing with a victory. Rosebud, right? Yeah. Rosebud Lot at Hearn. Rosebud Lot has been eliminated from contention. 13-2A2, Iola at Bartlett. Two teams that want to win to finish out their regular season. And Chilton at Granger. And 14-1A2, 6-man, Oglesby at Buckholtz. TAPS Division 4, District 3, Central Texas Christian at Hallettsville Sacred Heart. And in TAPS 6-man, Division 2, District 2, Holy Trinity Catholic at New Braunfels Christian. Heidel, Ellison, Troy, and Bruceville Eddy. Troy's in the playoffs. Bruceville Eddy has to wait to see what happens in its district. So,
And Ellison's already in the offseason.
Ellison is in the offseason,
Break
even though
out the basketballs.
they're currently sitting
Fifth?
in 5th.
But
at
cannot make
4
the
and 4,
playoffs.
but cannot make the
any
playoffs,
situation.
unfortunately.
And a team that's behind them right now, Colleen, actually can still
Yes,
make the
a team that they beat last week.
playoffs. Yeah.
So that's a tough thing for the Eagles there in Colleen.
Tough.
Well, here we go. 12-6A.
Make sure you're stretched and
Yes.
limbered up.
Temple
here.
at Copperas Cove. This game is much more interesting because the Wildcats did not win last week. The game they wanted to win. Probably should have won, maybe. I don't know. Greg, we can talk about that. Yeah.
Could have won, certainly.
But they didn't take care of business then, and now they got a whole bunch of things looking at them as far as the playoffs go.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. I mean, we'll preface it by saying there's all
Yeah.
kinds of scenarios here
Yeah.
based on not only if Temple wins or loses, but if Belton wins at Midway and by how much. I think it's maybe 3 different scenarios, and that's just with Belton winning. I mean, by
Yeah.
1 or 2 is something different than winning by 3, is something different than winning by 4 or more. So, yeah, that's pretty convoluted. We might not decipher all of those things, but the most interesting thing about this scenario, you'd have to say, is normally this time of year, if you win, it improves or gives you a more advantageous situation, right? I mean,
Yep.
you finish higher, you knock someone else down in the standings, whatever it might be. Temple situation, if Temple goes and beats Copper's Cove, finishes 7-1 in district, it probably means a tougher playoff opener for Temple, and it's not just who they play, but where. It would probably be the difference between playing a home game against a 3-7 Mesquite Horn or Tyler Lee team. That's if Temple loses to Copper's Cove. If Temple beats Cove, they probably have to go play at Longview, number 4 in the state, probably going to be a 10-0 team, and very talented, very hard to beat at home.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's kind of the old Pandora's box. What does this mean for Temple and how they decide to play this game? I think the one thing that will keep Temple pushing hard to win this game is that they can still share a district championship if Belton beats Midway by any amount. I think, because look, if Temple goes to Cove and purposely doesn't play its best game and loses, and then Belton beats Midway, now all of a sudden Temple's a third-place team. Mm-hmm. I don't think Temple views itself as a third-place team. I mean, there's some pride involved, like we talked about off the air. Mm-hmm. Of course, Temple can choose to rest all of its starters or play guys for a half or a quarter or whatever. They can keep up with how the Belton Midway game is going. I mean, there's all kinds of ways Scott Stewart, the coach, can decide to play it. On the record, he says they're going full bore to try to win this game. I think one thing he did cite is staying healthy is one of their major goals. He said improving from last week, correcting their mistakes, but also staying healthy. So you can read into that what you will.
And don't you want to be playing some of your best football going into playoffs?
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. And I think the wild card in this game is people maybe assuming that the only way Temple loses this game is if it rests guys or doesn't play that hard. Temple's favored in this game, but Copper's Cove is good enough on a good night at home to beat Temple. Straight up.
True.
I mean, I think they're dangerous. They're trending late in the season, and plus they have all the incentive in the world. They have to win this game to make the playoffs, unless Colleen loses to Waco, which probably
is a
not,
less likely thing
very
Friday.
very unlikely. So,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Temple would rather play Longview later in the playoffs, like the 4th round, than the 1st round. But sometimes you're not in control of all those things. And plus, Temple's going to have to win 3 games in the playoffs just to get that crack at Longview.
Yeah, the road to the 4th round isn't that much
And
easier.
by the way, Longview doesn't have a bye to the 4th round either.
Right.
I mean, as good as they are, strange things happen.
Yeah.
Manville thought they were going to win the state championship 2 years ago, and Temple knocked them off in a big upset. So strange things happen. I think Temple will come out. Scott Stewart says all the starters will start. Everybody on the field will play hard. They're playing to win. I think it'll be interesting to see as the game unfolds, based on the score, based on how the Belton Midway game is going, perhaps, whether Temple keeps those starters in and plays hard. You're not going to be able to tell by playing hard. Whoever's on the field is going to play hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, is that going to be Jared Wiley and Anthony Jackson and Quentin Johnston and Monto President, or is that going to be some blend of starters and backups, or is we're not going to see till Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah. I think you have to play with. I've said it a bunch of times tonight. I mean, you have to play to win. It's the old, Herm Edwards thing. But I mean, it's.
Don't you think the term like competitive integrity plays it? Because look, it's not just Temple we're talking about. Temple's result has a direct bearing on Belton, Midway, Colleen, and Cove. Mm-hmm. It really affects seeding, maybe Division I versus Division II, home game versus road game in the playoffs. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios in play. So That said, I had a district coach who will go unnamed tell me off the record that Temple's got to do what's best for Temple. He said if we were in this situation, we do what's best for our school. So the notion that, well, Temple owes it to the other schools to, play its best and play to win, that's romantic and everything. But, I mean, if you're Temple and you choose that you want that easier playoff road, that's at your discretion. And, you have to live with the reputation
Is
consequences.
it easier or different? I mean, that's really the,
Well, at 10-0 Longview versus home against 3-7 Mesquite Horn or Tyler
it's
Lee.
different.
It's different.
It's still 6A Division II
still-
playoffs.
Okay.
Against a playoff qualifying
Okay.
team.
I don't think
that earned its way in.
I don't think a lot of people will be signing up for that trip to 10-0
No.
Longview. I'm just
No,
saying.
it's just-
maybe on a
it's
neutral
different.
site maybe, but it's a great debate. I mean, if you're Belton, what do you want to see Temple do on Friday night?
I don't think Belton
Cares?
what Temple does. Belton wants to beat Midway for the first time since 2011.
Yeah.
They almost did a couple years ago,
And
which still bothers them.
Temple wants to beat Midway for the first time ever.
Yeah.
0-5
Yeah.
now since
Belton hasn't had a district championship since 2009.
Yeah.
They're a win away from getting that.
Yeah.
So Belton's pretty much concerned with Belton at this point,
And-
like how Temple is concerned with Temple. But
And Belton can still have either a home playoff game in the
Yeah.
first round or a true road game.
yeah,
Or a neutral site.
Yeah,
So-
all sorts of.
Yeah.
But Coach Sam Skidmore there, Belton, he knows all that. Just as Scott Stewart knows all the things that are facing them.
Yeah.
But Belton, I mean, their main thing, they want to win.
Yeah.
They want to win.
Just to put that win
Friday.
over Midway on
Yeah.
the board.
Yeah.
Plus, it'd be a big
your
road win.
Road win, district championship. I mean, there's
Get the monkey off their back.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that the Tigers are thinking of beside what Temple's doing over there in Commerce Cove.
So, Josh, you came from Odessa before you came to Temple, right? I mean, you came from
Yes.
Odessa to Temple.
Yeah.
If Belton beats Midway by 3, exactly 3,
Mm-hmm.
Temple beats Cove, we got a 3-way tie. Everything's even across the board, 1-1 against each other.
Yeah.
Point differentials. Now we're looking at coin flips,
Yeah.
so we could cover the coin flip,
Bring your coin.
look just like the old Permian, from Friday Night Lights,
Yes.
the old infamous coin
Gas
flip
station in the middle of the
truck
night.
stop.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sweet, but
Yeah,
let's
that'd
hope
be-
it actually doesn't come down.
No, but
Yeah.
it's. I don't know if I want to say it's fun to talk about all this stuff because it's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you gotta play the game in front of you and deal with that as best you can and let everything else happen. Like you said in your notebook, I mean, Temple hasn't backed down from a challenge.
Yeah.
At least as long as you've been covering them.
Think about-
especially over the last
Yeah.
5 or 6 years in the playoffs.
I'm not
So-
even sure I mentioned this in the notebook, but the last 2 seasons, 16 and 17, the non-district schedule they put together when they were a 5A program was against all 6A opponents.
Yeah.
So I mean that it shows you they're not ducking anybody. It's just I don't know. I don't even know how I would if I was in Scott Stewart's shoes. I don't know how I would choose to handle this, but
Yeah, I don't.
It's
Is
tough. It's tough.
playing? Is going to play Longview, accepting that challenge, in the first round and perhaps losing, maybe in a good game. Does that feel better than maybe winning your first round game and then going to lose your second against some random
No,
team? I mean, what's
I think
what's the
I think
difference
it
there?
would be only if Temple could at least get to the 4th round, the regional final. When you play into December, you've had a great season regardless, and I think that would be the. But as we talked about, Temple's done everything in the last 4 years except win a state championship. I think the way they probably look at it is that's the biggest goal that's out there. The other thing, they've got 10 defensive starters who are seniors. I think they see next year might be something of a rebuilding / reloading season. I think maybe if they think this is their best chance to win a state title, that they have to position themselves the best way possible. That's maybe where a bit of the gamesmanship comes in. But again, we won't know till Friday night, and I think you'll see a good product from Temple out there. I just think how long do the starters stay in? How much does he want to get those guys out to keep them fresh? And maybe never. This game might go down to the end with all starters on the field, and Temple will either win or lose. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, for Belton is, I mean, they can have an 8-win regular season. I'm not sure, they had 8 wins a couple years ago, but that included a playoff victory. I'm not sure when they've gone 8-2 the last time in the regular season. I mean, it's been a little while. So I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, they're going after a whole bunch of things, and so I don't know if if they're thinking about where they're playing their playoff game necessarily. Right now.
Well, and as hard fought and physical as that Temple Midway game was last week, 31-28, just a lot of hard hitting, huge crushing blocks, and very emotional toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well Midway bounces back from that game. That's kind of one of those slugfests. You're happy to get through it with the win, but I don't know if you're just as fresh as a daisy the next week. I mean, that's 2 hard games back to back.
I mean, Midway still, I'm going to say, would be the favorite in this game, regardless of that. I mean, just based on, recent history, not just Midway, but just between Midway and Belton, in those matchups, the Panthers have had the Tigers' number for sure.
And with Belton playing a sophomore quarterback, maybe if Connor Carruthers was in there healthy, it's a closer.
I really think it's more of Belton's defense going against Midway's offense rather than Belton's offense, because I think the Tigers can score points against anyone in this district. They've shown that really so far. The Midway's defense is probably at this point the best they've faced. I mean, you say that every week, but it kind of seems that way just based on what they did against Temple. But I still think the Tigers can put up points. It's going to be about Belton's defense and can they stop James Fulbright enough times, because he's hammered them the last couple of years.
By the way, what is stopping James Fulbright? I mean, if he has 30 carries for 185,
I think it's keeping him out of the end zone. You can give up as much as you want in between the 20s.
I knew he was good.
Keeping him out of the end zone.
I knew he was good from seeing him as a sophomore and a junior, but he's a tremendous player. And of course, it's weird. Like, half of his runs, the line makes these gaping holes because their line is gigantic. And then even when the holes aren't quite there, he still puts his head down, and you think you got him stopped for nothing. You look up, he's got 4 yards. And then he turns 4 into 8. And it's just that cumulative effect of the pounding he puts on you.
Yeah, I think we're going to
he's hard to see, too, because he's about 5'7".
Yeah, but he's just really hard to tackle.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to get a good gauge of how far Belton's come mentally. I think. I mean, they've shown against Temple that they can stick with some adversity. The last couple of years in that game, they've been behind and been able to come back and make it a game. I think they're going to have to do something similar. Keep it close, take a lead, and then see if they can close it out. But
it comes down to maybe which Jimenez plays better at quarterback.
Yeah. Ruben and Nick right over there at Midway. So one's a sophomore, one's a senior.
They are not related.
Not that we know of. But that'll be a good one. A lot of good stuff in 12-6A happening. Marcus has been standing by, or at least sitting by. He's writing things on a paper.
That pen's been going 100 miles
an
hour.
Should we check in to see what that's all about?
Is he okay? Let's check on that.
Marcus, what do you have? I mean, you got your reading glasses on and everything, so this might get
very
serious.
Studious.
Yeah, I'm confusing myself.
Oh, no.
But
Daniel, do you want to sing a song while Marcus finishes?
I'll mention one tidbit on Temple Cove game.
I'm so sorry.
I'll make this quick. First Temple versus Cove game since 2013, which, of course, back then was Mike Spradlin coaching Temple against Jack Welch from Cove. Now, both of those guys have moved on. So you got Jack Alvarez at Coppers Cove. He won a state championship at Ennis in 2014, came in late, not hired until about mid-May after Jack Welch left Cove under some kind of mysterious circumstances. I don't know. That was a weird deal. But anyway, he's a top coach, veteran. He told me a funny story kind of along these lines about having a real tough predicament on rain and bus rides and someone refusing to play a makeup game. He was kind of equating it to the quandary that this district and Temple are in right now. So anyway, he's a very good coach and he's got a good team.
And in Coppers Cove, I mean, I know just from speaking with Skidmore over there at Belton every week, like you speak with Scott Stewart, Skidmore's been saying all year, like, just wait for Cove. I mean, they're going to get better and better each game, and they have they're 4-1 in their last 5. So
it's funny because Temple got a good look at Alvarez's teams at Ennis the last 2 years because going into the last week of the season, it was like they were going to play Ennis or Corsicana in the bi-district playoffs, and both times Ennis beat Corsicana, so Temple got Corsicana,
Yeah.
but they got their eye full of what Ennis likes to do, and apparently it's a physical style of running and
Yeah.
some trick formations, and Shantez Simmons is quite a running back.
Oh
for the
yeah,
Cove.
definitely. Marcus, I'll check on you.
I'm
If
fine.
not, we can have Daniel read like our top 3 stat leaders in each category real quick if you want to.
I'm fine whenever y'all are ready to go.
All right,
Let's roll.
where do you want to start?
I guess since y'all covered pretty much 12-6A, we'll just kind of run down the list here.
You sure you don't want to go over all those scenarios again in 12-6A?
Well, if Copper's Cove,
I'm sure. 5-4-A-1.
5-4-A-1, what we have is Gatesville at Waco La Vega. Biggest thing here, Gatesville is right now on the outside kind of looking in. If they beat Waco La Vega, they're automatically in. And otherwise, they can also get in with a Brownwood win over China Spring. Or if China Spring wins their game by less than 10 points, a China Spring win, basically Gatesville loss, would create a 3-way tie, and that district uses a point system based on positive and negative points with a 14-point cap, which means that basically Gatesville beat China Spring by 4 points but lost to Brownwood by more than the cap, so that'd be -10. China Spring right now is -4, Brownwood's at +14. If any of that made sense to y'all, great. If not, just trust what I said, that Gatesville's either in with a win, a Brownwood win, or a China Spring win by less than 10 points.
So what happens if Gatesville loses then?
If Gatesville loses, then it creates it really depends. If Gatesville loses, then it really depends on what the
Those
Brownwood
points.
China Spring
Yeah,
game.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Brownwood wins, Gatesville gets 4th place.
Okay,
And China Spring wins, it depends on that point total at the end.
gotcha.
But
So Gatesville, they have a decent shot at getting in,
Yeah,
win
yeah,
or
'cause-
lose.
because you got to figure
Because China Springs in last place in that.
right,
Yeah.
and China Springs kind of struggled a little bit more than they probably want to think they were going to
Yeah.
this year.
They prefer to say they're in 5th place.
Sure.
Sure, they can say it, and technically they are. But so we'll kind of see. The easiest way would be Gatesville just beat Waco La Vega.
It's like Temple winning at Longview. No, nothing to it.
Yeah,
Just go
I
up
mean,
there and
it's-
beat La Vega. They
But,
lose a
you
lot
know,
of games in Bellmead.
This district is one of those where those teams could do that any given night. So moving on down the list, 14-4A, Lampasas is already in. In District 8-4A, what we have is Salado going to Fairfield. And there's a lot riding on this game. Salado is eliminated with a loss. And they can get in the playoffs with a win and a Robinson win. Robinson's playing Waco Conley. If Salado wins, there's a guaranteed 4-way tie for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place between either Salado, Madisonville, Conley, and Salado are let me start over. Between Salado, Madisonville, Fairfield, and either Waco, Conley, or Robinson.
At
So-
3-3, they'd all be
Correct.
3-3.
So that's why the Salado game matters and the point matter, as well as the Conley Robinson game. Madisonville, because this district bases its tiebreaker completely on the point differential, Madisonville's already been eliminated. They cannot catch up to anybody.
Even though they have a win over Salado.
Correct. But
And
they do
Robinson already has a playoff spot.
right, because because of the point system, they can't be caught. What may matter is where they end up.
Yeah.
But it's all based on points in this district. There's no like you get one team in by points, then you go back to head to head. It's all so Salado's in with a win and a Robinson win, or a win by at least 14 points and a win by Conley. When beating Fairfield by 14 points won't be easy. So you're basically just hoping that you win and Robinson wins if you're Salado. And first task is you got to take care of business in Fairfield, which is not exactly
And that's a
easy.
bit of a rivalry now too, right? Or at least the last couple of years have been
yeah,
good games. I know last year went to overtime or something, right? Was
think
it?
so.
Yeah.
I think they have a great running back too at Fairfield right now that's had some big games lately.
Okay.
And I think their head coach is Batchel. I think he's been there a while too. So
And you'll be there.
I think so.
You're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Are you going to
moment.
stay at the Fairfield when you're in town?
I don't think they have one there, but I'll probably go to a place called Sam's, which has some really decent barbecue and a nice buffet.
Cool.
I'll probably go for the barbecue. It depends on when I leave, but we're getting off track.
No, you are.
About that Temple game, one more thing. In District 10 3A, all the spots have been decided as far as the teams making the playoffs. But Academy is hosting Rockdale this week, and that will determine the third and the fourth place teams. So that's going to be a big game, and Daniel will be there. We might get his insight on that game in a minute.
Yeah. Whenever, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's been a solid season for Academy. They overcame that 0-3 start. A lot of people weren't quite sure how it was going to work out with Paul Williams, mainly his new implemented passing game. You know, they've been throwing the ball a lot more this year than they have in recent years. So people weren't real sure how that was going to work out. But so far it's been good. They're what now? What is that? Trying to find the place here. 3-2 in district.
Yeah.
So Rockdale, they've kind of come to form a little bit. You know, they lost the Battle of the Bell, and then the week before that they lost to Troy. So they're riding a 2-game losing streak. But
They were.
They were.
Then they beat Gerald last week.
There we go. That's right.
Yeah.
They lost those two. Then they bounced back with Gerald with the big win. Jace Robinson, their quarterback, he threw for I think nearly 350 yards, had something like 5 touchdowns. He's been haven't talked about him a lot this year, but he's definitely capable of a big game, as well as other guys on that roster. So it'll be interesting. If this game was in Rockdale, I would probably just, along with a lot of us, I think just give the flat out edge to Rockdale. Rockdale does certainly have the edge, even though this one's in Academy. But you know, expect a good game from the Bees. It looks like their quarterback, Jerry Cephas, the sophomore, he's starting to get more reps. Most of the season, him and Ryan White, the junior quarterback, they've been kind of splitting time under center there. But it seems like Cephas has had the hotter hand. He's been playing better here of late. So, and that's kind of been Paul Williams' message, you know. When you have two guys that can throw the ball like they can, you know, you kind of ride the hot hand. If one is doing great, then you stay with them. If one starts to falter, you go with the other guy. So you always kind of have a backup. But we'll see how this one plays out. You know, just to kind of recap, they're both in the playoffs for sure. The loss by Gerald last week eliminated their playoff chances. They had a strong bounce-back season after going winless last year, but just not good enough to get into the playoffs in a very competitive 10-3-1. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't think it's an automatic win by Rockdale by any means. You know, especially if you talk to Jeff Miller over there, he hasn't been real excited about their play probably over the last month, but they've gone up against the best the district has to offer. So we'll see what happens. Both teams are in the playoffs. It just, you know, is going to come down to who's going to be the third seed and who's going to be the fourth.
All right. Good stuff there, Daniel.
And who's ready for some more really good stuff? Marcus.
Yeah,
Your
sure.
head hasn't
Back to you.
exploded yet. We got more playoff scenarios.
In District 8 3A2, Rogers is already in the playoff. They've clinched the playoff spot. But what's interesting about their game this week, they play Clifton. So if they win, they can at least share the district title, and that'd be something for them. And a win could also determine, you know, who they play in the next round. I mean, it could be a matter of, you know, do you want to play Buffalo? Do you want to play Edgewood? So, you know, there's a lot riding on that game, even though the playoffs have already been locked up for them.
Yeah.
Should be easy, right? But knocking off this Clifton team.
Yeah. 400.
What have they done?
Clifton has scored 414 points and allowed 65.
You know what's interesting about that is, like, normally when you see a team that's that dominant, it's more from like a dominant program, you know, like a Mart or something, like that's good every year. Like, it wouldn't shock you if Cameron Yo had a season like that. But like Clifton's kind of come out of, I mean, normally they're decent, like they might make the playoffs, they might miss it. They're not a dominant program. But it's like this group that they have is just like a total steamroller. They've dominated people from the word go. So it's just a great individual
So it's
season.
going to be an even bigger when Rogers beats them this week.
I would say so.
The last spot in that district is going to go to somebody.
Yeah.
And those two teams
Either
are playing
Florence
each other.
or Hamilton.
They haven't
Yeah.
won a game in district yet, and whoever wins that one gets the fourth spot.
And yeah, they will probably, whoever gets that fourth spot will probably get the honor of losing to Buffalo in the first round of the playoffs.
Florence has scored 13 points in district, and Hamilton has scored 25.
You think we should debate right now whether that fourth playoff spot is a good thing?
No.
Okay, just asking again this week.
And you know what's also interesting on the district?
The
back-
12-6A playoff scenarios.
Back to the District 8-4A2 with Salado. You know, there's a lot riding on these games this week, but the teams that get in the playoffs, that District 7-4A2 that they're going to be matched up with, there's only one team in that district with a winning record, and their winning record's only like 5-4.
Wow.
I mean, that's not a great district that you're looking at playing. So you want to get in the playoffs because you can get going real quick.
Yeah.
But back on track. The District 8-2A1, Bruce Valetti has a bye week this week. And
No, they're idle.
yes, they're idle this
Open
week.
date.
They're hoping it's a bye for their first round of the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. No, because what happens with Bruce Valetti is they're going to be watching the district game.
Italy and Axel.
To
No.
watch Italy against Riesel and
Yeah.
Axel against Bosqueville. Bruce Valetti's playoff chances are not looking good right now. What has to happen is Bruce Valetti would get in with an Italy win and an Axel loss, because that one also would come down to a point system tiebreaker, and Bruce Valetti is behind everybody in that one.
An Axel loss is a little more perhaps conceivable than Italy beating Riesel.
Right, and Bruce Valetti beat Axel. That's why they need Axel to lose,
Yeah.
because they have the head-to-head over Axel.
And Axel's playing Bosqueville.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's a 6-3 Bosqueville team, but 5-0 in district right now. But Axel is 6-3 as well, 3-2 in district. One of those being, of course, to Bruce Valetti.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Bruce Valetti is looking at. I mean, that's kind of a tough situation for them to be in right now. I'm
Having
sure.
to sit on the sideline. and-
Yeah, it makes it really tough for this when you have your idle week in the final week of the season, and your playoff chances ride on a different game.
And really, if they had defeated Italy, you were at that game,
Yeah.
right? What was it? Just a touchdown or something?
It
They had-
was. I'm not even sure it was a full touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 4-point game, maybe. I
Four
think.
points.
Yeah.
It's
And that was at
a
home.
long season when
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean their guys were just tired and beat up by the end of that game. And
Yeah.
Cheney, he could have kept going hard, try and get that win. But at the time, you're thinking maybe it won't matter. You don't know. You never know, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
13-2A. Holland has locked up first place in that district, at least a share of the title. They're going to be the top seed out of that one. So they're just trying to keep strong, get ready for the playoffs against Milano.
Big season for the Hornets.
Oh, big time. I mean,
Great season.
well, it's and I think even bigger because they backed up last season's, strong campaign with another really good one. I
Yeah.
mean, stringing together these multiple win seasons or whatever, and hopefully, you reach 10 wins again, at least 10 wins. I mean, that's
We'll see how long they can hold on to Coach Brad Talbot down there. I mean,
hot commodity.
yeah.
And their first round matchups, I think, going to be the loser between Junction and Center Point. I don't think either one of those teams have the district win at the moment.
Okay.
District 13-2A1, Granger's kind of in the same boat. They're just trying to stay strong for the playoffs. They've got the top seed in District 13-2A2 locked up. And they'll play the loser between Louise and Flatonia out of that district. And so there's nothing really there. Buckholz, unfortunately, in six-man Class A nowadays, only 2 teams make the playoffs. So Buckholz, by that unfortunate loss to McDade, has already been eliminated from playoff contention. And then didn't help that they lost to Calvert last week. Of course, a lot of teams over the years have lost to Calvert.
Yes.
So in our private school teams, and I looked at this correctly, 3 teams out of TAPS District 3-4 make the playoffs, which means CTCS, Central Texas Christian School, all they have to do is win this week, or have Shiner, St. Paul defeat Sacred Heart, and the Lions will get in the playoffs. And in the 6-man district that we cover, I believe 5 teams make the playoffs out of that district too, which means
I'm sorry, how many teams did you say make it?
5 teams.
That seems like a lot of teams.
Well, I kind of like the way TAPS.
It is.
I kind of like the way TAPS does it though, because you talk about the merits of 4 teams making the playoffs in UIL. You have these unbalanced districts. At least TAPS tries to balance the playoffs out because
Right.
you have these districts that only have 3 or 4 teams, so you have maybe 3 teams make it. You have districts that have 7 teams, so I don't know if they still do it, but a couple of years ago, those final playoff spots would be kind of just determined by like point system between the leftover teams in each district, which kind of got confusing. Now they just say, all right, you have 6 teams in your district, 5 are going. You have 4 teams, 3 are going.
So you have to be pretty low in the standings to not get to postseason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's not a lot of tap schools, so their playoffs don't last that long, or don't last any longer than UIL anyway. So,
Sure.
and that means Holy Trinity, I believe, is in the playoffs. Now, go back and try and double check all that, or we might get a call from a Holy Trinity listener tomorrow that says, "Hey, wait a minute, we're not yet." But, and if you're out there listening
Yeah.
and you want to call us, feel free.
Celtic pride.
But
Yep.
and that's basically all I got.
Awesome. That was great.
Thanks.
You
that
really
is
did.
not that is not easy to digest. That is not easy to try to figure out.
You want to go
so-
over it again? Let's go. From the Temple game. Oh, wait.
You know what else wasn't easy to digest was the Jack in the Box I had the other night.
Well, that's a given. I mean, that's just,
That was a mistake.
You learned your lesson.
I wanted Panda Express, which I'm not sure would have been any better, but the line was too long, so I settled for Jack in the Box.
maybe slightly better.
Yeah.
Get some
At least
veggies
initially, yeah.
Initially.
Maybe if we gave certain local restaurants some praise, we could get a sponsor for our podcast.
Yeah.
Like Hat Creek Burgers in West Temple, newly opened. Maybe. I don't know. I'm
Right.
just saying.
Bird Creek's been pretty busy with that
Bird
stuff,
Creek,
right?
Hat
Isn't that where
Creek.
Scott Stewart does his
He does.
radio show?
He does.
Yeah.
Rylanders.
Been around a while.
They got good stuff there. One of our guys in the back shop went there for dinner tonight. Made me kind of jealous because I was eating my Taco Bell.
Got Raising Cane's down there. You got the Catch. You got all kinds of places around here now.
Yeah.
We're growing
Booming.
area.
You're not going hungry if you're near Scott and White.
And
No,
plus,
no.
with construction on I-35 the way it is nowadays, people are stopping in Temple because you have no choice but to stop on I-35,
Yes.
and you can't figure out how to get back on after you get off.
Yeah, you should have seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a mess
Yeah.
last night coming back from Waco.
I learned quickly when you get on I-35 in Temple or just anywhere, anytime I-35, you always make sure you have enough food rations for the next 3 days. Because once you get on,
Camping toilet.
yeah, you have no idea when you're getting off, so
Yeah.
you don't know. So,
Take back roads.
Yeah. We got a busy Friday coming up, as you can tell, and that's right as the volleyball playoffs are reaching the regional tournament.
Yep.
We have Moody and Troy making it to their respective tournaments, right as girls basketball is already a week into the books.
Good run by Academy Volleyball.
Yeah, and Academy lost in the third round. Bartlett as well, right? Volleyball, yeah, in the third round.
Academy was kind of, I was at that match.
Yeah.
I know this is a football podcast, but
Hey,
I think Academy is a great volleyball team, and they only lose 2 players. What happened there was their setter, Pacey Crow, early in the match, she injured her hand, and then she injured her other arm, injured her leg. By the end of the game, she was like barely walking, but she was staying out there. Hats off to her for just toughing it out. She was doing fine, but it slowed down a little bit of the rhythm. And hey, Maypearl's a good team also.
yeah.
So
And your arms are kind of valuable as a setter.
they're
That's-
very valuable as a
I've
setter.
heard that. I don't know if that's true or not. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't play volleyball.
it's true.
So.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you are.
I used to
play.
play at family picnics all the time.
Right after that Taco Bell.
Shout out to Coach Queen from Academy. She's my son's teen leadership teacher
Oh,
in 8th grade.
there you
So
go.
There you
Nice.
go. Way to go, Coach Queen.
Yes.
And ladies.
I was at the Troy West match, just since we're going to talk about volleyball real quick. In Waco, at Lion Gym, they call it the Lion's Den. First of all, the air conditioning wasn't working in there. So it was
Box.
super humid. But those crowds on both sides, that was pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
They both brought student sections that didn't sit down the entire match.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good atmosphere, good and a really good match as well.
And that's where small town sports can trump bigger city sports
Yeah,
because
yeah, it was.
they get into it.
Yeah, it was electric for sure.
Yeah, it was
What
pretty
else are you
crowded.
doing
It was
in
pretty
Weston
crowded.
Troy on a Tuesday night, right?
Right.
Go watch some volleyball.
Yeah, definitely. and then get stuck on I-35 on your way back.
Stop and get some kolaches, maybe.
Yeah.
Bottled water.
Yeah, so yeah, girls basketball also has been going for a week. Boys basketball starts. I think you can start playing Friday. All sorts of stuff going on.
It's that time of the year.
New coaches at Temple and Belton on
Yeah,
the
for the boys,
side.
yeah. I think Belton plays Saturday, Temple plays Tuesday. So a lot of stuff going on. But this Friday, it's all about the football, and we'll know more on all the playoff things next week, and we'll give you all those games and locations and days and times.
Temple and Belton will be playing somebody somewhere.
That's right. And Holland and Rogers and Yo and Academy and Rockdale.
Maybe a couple
and
more.
a couple more. Until then, 40 minutes, everybody.
Yep.
So long.
Solid.